I'm freaking out. Is this my disc again? Like, what is happening? And then she did a few tests. She's like, no, I think it's just some muscle cramp. It should be okay. But this time, I think there was like a gradual onset. Like the next few weeks, things just became like it increased a lot. Like the right leg, again, they were shooting pain, and it was pretty bad. The muscles were extremely cramped, and it just went on increasing. And I think one night, probably like after dinner, I just knew that something is really off. About like 10 p.m. Like my whole leg, the pain was excruciating. Like I could not stand or sit or sleep, or even like any movement, anything was just super bad. Like it felt like the whole leg from had completely cramped up, and there was also like a lot of shooting pain. And then I was like, okay, I cannot survive this. We really need to go to the ER.
Welcome to Bed, Back, and Beyond, sharing positive stories of recovery from serious back or neck injury. Your host is CK, a fellow champion who draws on her own experience with herniated disc surgery. Join her as she talks with others who have overcome the physical and emotional trauma of a painful injury, and discover for yourself how you can find hope and encouragement in recovery.
Before I introduce today's guest to you, I just wanted to thank you for listening to my podcast. And if you happen to be someone who's injured, I just want you to know that I am thinking of you, and I really hope that this podcast has been an encouragement to you. And I just want to remind you to focus on the small victories that you make each day. That'll help with the emotional battle that comes with a back or neck injury. On today's episode, I get to speak with Adithi. She is from India, but is in Sweden for her postdoctorate studies. And while she's there, she has been dealing with a herniated disc, away from home and away from family. And yet she has such a beautiful smile and just a wonderful story. So I'm super excited to get her story out to you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and help get the word out to other people who may be in need of some encouragement. Hi, Adithi. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Bed, Back, and Beyond. Before we dive into your injury history, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, very nice to talk to you today. I'm Adithi. I currently live in Sweden, and I'm doing my postdoctoral research in quantum computing.
Oh my goodness.
It's been a year since I have moved in here. So before that, I was in India doing my PhD in another area of physics, and then I switched here to continue my research.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard the term quantum computing.
Is it?
Obviously, I know quantum theory.
Yeah. So we are going to try to use that theory to make computers, which are going to be a lot more efficient than what we have now. And, we could solve many other big questions.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And how long have you been in Sweden?
Last May 2023 was when I moved here. So it's been over a year now.
Where did you do your undergrad?
Everything was from India. So I was in Bangalore in India. So all of my education till my PhD was in Bangalore.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'm a little nervous. I'm talking to a real smarty.
Oh, no, not at all.
No. That's great. And yay for women in quantum computing.
Yes, definitely.
Are there a lot in your class?
No.
Does that make you nervous or make you want to stand out more?
I do want to stay in that more because the interest in the field, of course. But it feels a bit alienating sometimes not to have
somebody you can connect with.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's improving. The situation is improving these days, and there are more girls getting into STEM fields. So that's nice.
And so where were you living when you started to feel hurt?
So the first time I had the first experience of having, anything close to discomfort in my back area was in around May 2021, I think, during the second wave of COVID. So I was still back in India. And then I had, along with COVID, I had these back pain symptoms, lower back especially. And then I think a week or two after the other symptoms of the COVID just went away, whereas this kind of stayed longer. And then I did go to a couple of doctors to just get it checked out. And they said, it's just probably some vitamin deficiency, and prescribed me some vitamins, and things kind of improved over the next few months. But there were a few days when I used to have this like there was some pain in the lower back at the end of the day and so on, but I would put some hot pack and it would be gone. But and then I continued all my like running, cycling and things like that, and all of those were fine, so I thought there's nothing much to worry about.
Right.
But I think it was in Jan 2022 when one day I kind of lifted like a very heavy bucket full of water. And then the next day morning, I started to feel a strange sensation in my right leg. Again, I brushed it off thinking, okay, the last 2 months I have been working day and night in front of my laptop. That's probably why I just probably need some stretching. And I walked a bit, I ran a bit. But over the next 2 to 3 days, one morning it got really, really bad and I couldn't like straighten my right leg. And that's kind of when I knew you can tell the difference between like the muscle pain and the nerve pain, and
Right.
this felt different. And I also kind of knew the symptoms a bit because my dad had it too. So
Okay.
yeah, he had it for the first time when he was 27 and before his marriage.
Mhm.
But again, later in 2019, he had it again. So that time was I kind of when I saw it closely. So I knew the symptoms a bit well, and I was like, okay, this feels familiar. And I have the same thing, like I can't straighten my right leg and it's paining till from like the thighs to my calf muscles. And then I went to an orthopedic. They immediately got an MRI done. It showed a bulging disc in L4 L5 and L5S1.
Okay,
So
so two spots.
yeah. And
Okay.
then they recommended just some physio. And then I did start my physio exercises, but I think it was like 2 3 weeks that I did not see much improvement. Like the pain was
Mhm.
still there, but I would say I could still carry on with my daily activities. I could still,
Okay.
it was not extremely bad, so I could like still sit and do my work a little bit, and things were okay. But then there was always this constant shooting at sometimes in my right leg, and then that was kind of the scenario. And then my parents wanted me to kind of also try other treatments, so I got into this. There's something called Ayurveda. It's like an Indian way of medicines. Basically, it's like a holistic way of
Okay.
treatment where they kind of also have some massages and then a hot and cold treatment and a bit
Mhm.
of detoxification, and it's like a package of like 10 to 12 days of a program. So
Yeah.
I kind of tried that, but and I have heard it has helped people, but unfortunately for me, I would say probably it made things worse, and I
Oh,
was,
no.
yeah, I was not very happy with the whole, yeah. Then I was like, okay, I'm just going to stick to physio and just have some patience and just work with it. It took about 4 to 5 months, and things were way better. Like I could just get back to my work and most of the things, and I barely felt the pain down my leg. I couldn't, however, get back to running, cycling, and I used to love dancing. Like I danced a lot, and that's something yeah, all those activities I really did not get back to, but I could still manage my day pain free. And then I did a lot of travel too after that, like national, and everything was fine after that. I'm like, okay, it's gone, it's all fine. And then I moved to Sweden last May, and then I think in mid June I started feeling some strange feeling in my right leg again.
Oh, came back.
Yeah, then I was already seeing a physio here because I also had some ankle tendonitis. So it's a whole other thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I already had a physio, and I just asked her to check. I'm like, I'm freaking out. Is this my disc again? Like, what is happening? And then she did a few tests. She's like, no, I think it's just some muscle cramp. It should be okay. But this time, I think there was like a gradual onset. Like the next few weeks, things just became like it increased a lot. Like the right leg, again, they were shooting pain, and I like it was pretty bad. The muscles were extremely cramped, and it just went on increasing. And I think one night, probably like after dinner, I just knew that something is really off. And then thankfully, I had like a friend whom I knew from before, which was great because I was like really new to the country, and
Right. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. And I knew a friend from India before, so I just called, and I was like, I think something is feeling off. Can I just come to your place? And then I think that night, about like 10 p.m., like my whole leg, the pain was excruciating. Like I could not stand or sit or sleep, or even like any movement, anything was just super bad. Like it felt like the whole leg from had completely cramped up, and there was also like a lot of shooting pain. And then I was like, okay, I cannot survive this. We really need to go to the ER.
So you had to go to the ER in Sweden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that nerve-wracking going in a different country?
It was pretty scary. Like everything is already new, and then I don't have my parents around. Like
Right.
yeah, it was really really scary. But I think at that time I was just like, okay, the pain is just overtaking all of my other emotions, and I just need someone to check what's happening. Yeah, I went to the ER. I remember when the ambulance came in with a stretcher. Like I couldn't even shift from my sofa to the stretcher. Like even that movement was like super super painful. So it was pretty bad. So initially they did a few blood tests and then like eliminate possible other issues. And then I think about a lot of hours later, the doctor arrived and then he said it looks like you have had a relapse because you have had it in the past. So it's most likely that the same disc has kind of showed up symptoms again. And
Yeah.
he said this time it surely looks like a herniation because the symptoms
Oh,
look pretty bad. Yeah.
yeah.
I did not do an MRI, so I really don't know what exactly happened this time. I think here they don't really do an MRI unless you're going to go to a surgery or like it's extreme in some sense. So he said we would not do an MRI, but he checked for a few things like knee stimulus and like stimulus near my ankle, and he said, okay, it does not look like you have any nerve damage, so we would not recommend a surgery or even an MRI. You should just probably go to a physiotherapist and have the conservative way of treatment.
Did you
Yeah.
have numbness or just pain?
Oh, now numbness. Like my whole backside of the thigh was completely numb, and then
Mm-hmm.
I think till date, my right half of my right foot is still numb. Like I
Yeah.
cannot still feel it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird now, but
That's the one
yeah.
symptom of mine that never went away. So my leg
Ah,
is still numb. So when I'm
right.
shaving, it always feels a little weird.
Right. So my physio told me I was a bit concerned even through the recovery. I was like, why is this not going? And then she was like, that's not an indicator of recovery. You don't have to worry about it. For
Right.
some people, it just stays like for years and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's going to remind you that, oh, I had this a few years back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what kind of physical therapy moves did they have you doing?
I kind of found it hard to find a physiotherapist in the first place because it was summer and most of them were not available here. And, in Sweden, summers are taken really, really seriously. So it
Oh,
was, yeah, yeah. Most
that's
of
an
them go on
interesting problem.
vacations. Yeah, I
Everybody,
know.
all of healthcare is on vacation in the summer.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's because the winters are pretty bad. So summers are the time when people, really want
Yeah,
to have their
I
life.
don't
Yeah.
blame them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it took me like, it took me like about 3 months to get a good physiotherapist.
Oh my goodness.
But thankfully, till then, I had like, there was this general physiotherapist who would not, be involved with you personally much, but at least would give you like a first few things to take care of and the first few exercises. To just make sure that things progress well and it's not going, and they also make sure that you're recovering in a way that you don't need surgery, so that's also something that they keep track of. One of the other symptoms I had was this foot drop. Did you also have it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that felt weird. I was like, okay, I want to raise my feet, like it's
yeah.
just not coming up. Yeah.
It's very foot drop is very common.
And also I had I don't know if this is common because I've not heard it much from people, but the skin of my calf muscles was also very sensitive in the sense if I press it slightly it would like really really pain a lot. So wearing
Oh,
socks or wearing anything was super hard because just sensory touch was painful.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, this was also
Because your
something
nerve
that
is already triggered. So
exactly, so
yeah,
it's like over sensitive. Yeah. I remember even the physiotherapist was like, this is a bit new. Maybe I should discuss it with others and, get back if it's okay or if it's a red signal. But they said, okay, it happens once in a while, so it's okay. So I think most of the exercises involve like bridges and
hmm,
cobras.
right.
So it's ironic that this time when I could do the back bending, like the cobra movement,
Uh huh.
but the first time I had it, that was triggering my pain. So I think even though it's probably the same disc, I don't know, it's just different kinds of movements were triggering this time. So that's weird. Yeah, but most of them were just moving around my legs a little bit and very very slow, like very baby steps of exercises for the first few months. And because I also was not able to walk much, like I my right leg was super weak in the sense like when I was walking I felt like the right leg is having to pass through sand or something, like it was very hard to just move forward with it.
That I'm surprised that that sounds pretty severe. I'm surprised they
Exactly,
didn't
right?
think you that
I
you
was
didn't
so
need
sure.
surgery.
When I was going to the ER, I was like, oh, they are going to recommend surgery because this seems like really bad. And
Yeah,
then, but I was also a bit thankful because I was really scared. Like, I don't have my parents, and I'm like, I
right.
cannot take a decision like a surgery all alone.
I
So,
know.
yeah, I was like very, very scared. So, when he said we don't recommend, I was like, oh, but then I
Oh
know the
my
journey is going to be longer. And,
goodness. Yeah. In the middle of studying too, of
yeah,
your
yeah,
PhD. Oh,
yeah.
geez. What was your mom saying? Was she telling you come home so she can take care of you, or did they want to come up?
We did have a thought of like going back, but then sitting. So I was not able to sit for like a month or so. The first month,
Mhm.
like I could just sit for a few minutes to eat somehow, and then the pains would like really
Wow.
flare up. So sitting
Yeah.
was very, very difficult. So there was no way I could fly back to India. And then my parents did, my parents got their passports done and everything. And then my dad did come after like 2 months of, getting the visa. Yeah. Yes. But that was so, that was very helpful. I stayed with my friend till then. So I
Yeah.
really received like a lot of help
Oh.
from, yeah, people.
So on the pain scale, like from 1 to 10, how bad was your pain?
Initially, I would say 10. And I have high tolerance for pain. Like, I have had many issues over these years, and I have known to have high tolerance. But this time was just
Yeah, there's
beyond
nothing like it.
anything. Yeah.
So that was I'm sorry, so the second time was that May? Is that what you said? May of
No, July. I think last
July of 2023.
2023. Yes.
Okay. So since July of 2023, you've been doing physiotherapy.
Yes. So I
Well,
think
when it
by,
took you 3 months to get to the
yeah,
physiotherapist, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Holy cow.
I think it was around November when I found like a very good physiotherapist, and that was like she's I think universe sent to me right now. Like she really understands like my body movements and what I really
Okay.
need, and has like customized all the exercises. So that has been very helpful. And I think one of the things was like a big realization for me. Like she pointed out that I kind of have something called hypermobility. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure. So
Yeah.
I'm on that spectrum, and
Okay.
which is something I never really knew. But I was always super flexible in doing many things. Like I
Mhm.
used to do practice a lot of yoga, and I could do
Mhm.
like most of the poses, very
Yeah.
easily. And I used to flex it all the time, but it turns out that it's not always very good for your body.
Yeah. Right, and
So
so I guess that would mean that your spine doesn't have all the muscle support it needs,
exactly,
right?
exactly, yes.
So
So
hypermobility is that you're more flexible than you really should be.
should be, yeah. Yeah. So all these soft tissues are more elastic than they should be, and it's also something. It's the collagen itself, which is kind of present in the protein that is present in these tissues. That itself is structurally slightly different by your genes. So it's not something that you can really do much about. But one of the ways of kind of managing pains from hypermobility is to do strength training and give more support to the muscles around so that they hold everything in place better.
Okay, so what kind of strength training are you doing?
Yeah, right now, again, so the other thing about hypermobility is you have to go really, really slow, although you need a lot of strength training, because if you plunge into it, you can get injured very, very easily. So right now I'm just like using resistance bands and very, very, very like small weights, I should say. So most of them are like again, trunk rotations with resistance band, and like squats with resistance bands, and then crab walks to strengthen all the muscles in your. So mostly it is targeted to strengthening the muscles around the abdomen and the hips.
Okay,
So yeah,
yeah, the
uh,
hips are important.
yes,
I
yes,
think everybody thinks that you need to focus on the abdomen for a spine, but you need to also include your hips and your
yes.
glutes.
Yes, yes. And because mine is more like a theory work, so I'm like under with my laptop all the time for all these years. So
Yeah.
glutes are like really something that have been sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to like wake them up.
How's your pain level now?
I would say the right leg, I barely feel the nerve like pain anymore at all, but I still like there are some things which trigger in the sense of I can't do a complete squat, like I'm not in my full range of motion yet. But I would say the pain level in just the right leg is probably 1 on some days. Otherwise, unless I go do things that I have kind of lost touch with, I don't really notice it. Like I can sit and work for a while. I just, make sure that I get up occasionally and then have a bit of stretching and don't sit for long hours and all that. But otherwise, yeah, I've been able to get back to work.
Did you have to put a pause on your PhD work, or were you
Yeah.
able to continue?
No, I last July, yeah, I had to take a month of sick leave.
Yeah.
And then I kind of also had a few tricks to, there's this desk which you can lie down and work with. So
Oh, nice.
yes, I had to do a lot of such things. And then I worked from home for like about 3 months. And it was great that my supervisor was very, very cooperative.
Yeah,
So she was like, you take all your time and then, you get back when you feel better. So I
that's
took
good.
it like really, really slow getting back to work. And then even when I started going back, I think I would do 2 hours a day there in the office and then come back and then, do a bit of my exercises and then also work from home. And I slowly yeah, went back to it. But now it's fine.
So so July, and now I mean,
Yeah,
it's middle of
almost July
June.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And you
yeah,
sound like you've improved a whole lot.
yeah, yeah. No, no, really.
I can't imagine going through this though, like far from home, far from my parents, in a different country. I mean, how did you handle this emotionally?
I mean, physically itself, it's already so challenging, but the emotional part, like the mental challenge, was even more bigger for me. I moved to a new country with all of this, hopes and dreams that I'm going to have a new life there. I'm going to make like new social contacts and all of this, and then you
Yeah.
end up, being locked in room for a long time. So it was, yeah, it was very, very difficult. If you kind of think of it, like our identity is attached to our spine, and we don't really think unless something happens. But a lot of things, the way we represent ourselves, the way we just move around, when once that changes, it's really hard. Yeah, I think it was very, very frustrating and depressing. And yeah, and I think I was already like, it had been a year of not getting back to things I like, and I was slowly hoping to do all of those, like, hiking and especially dancing. So I think that kind of, it was very depressing to think of not being able to go back. And it was a big mental challenge, yes, for sure.
Well, just so you know, I'm back to dancing too. Not
Oh,
dancing very good, but
wow. But no, 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 that's great.
yeah.
As long as you can move around
Yeah.
while dancing, it's great. How long did it take for you, though? Did you have
Well,
a break?
well, it took like 6 months for me to feel better physically. It took probably a year for me to feel better emotionally. I was scared to move, for a long time after, and, so I do a lot of exercises at home, on YouTube. There's this girl who does a dance workout, and her name's Gina B,
Okay.
and I remember the first time I was doing her workout, she had us twisting, and I was
Ah,
like, I can't do
yeah,
that," and
yeah,
then
yeah,
I actually did it, and I started to cry, like,
yeah.
"Look at
I
me,
can
I'm
totally relate.
I'm twisting," yeah.
Yes, yes. No, I think the fear is what is worse to
Yeah,
deal with. Like it's so real. And then also my physiotherapist was kind of telling me that, there is this neurological connection, like when you are out of touch of certain movements, and then you try to do them now, even though it's not the disc that is triggering it, but your brain still sends a signal of pain, just like the panic signals. And I think that connection, to retrain your brain to say it's okay, this movement is okay for you, you don't have to like, yeah, react so much to it. That's really the hard part.
yeah,
Yeah,
and when you start reusing muscles that maybe got weak, they'll hurt, and then that'll slow down. So if you, like, stop moving, it yeah, it can really screw things up.
yeah, I had a lot of lower back spasms through this time, and that's also another reason, because you're not bending anymore, you're not twisting anymore, and then you try to do a little bit of it, and then the back just goes, oops.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you have the fear that you will have a spasm, so you still avoid those movements. So it's a really tricky balance to,
yeah,
safely
yeah.
get into it, but also be careful.
I have a community on Reddit called Microdiscectomy, and just the other day, someone said, "It's 3 months post-surgery, and I'm having back spasms again. What's going on?" And I just said, "Well, if you're moving more than you were, it's gonna trigger muscle spasms."
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did you handle the emotional turmoil? Did you do anything specific to help with that?
Well, one of the things that I feel like kind of focused on was to just look at the small things that are improving, like really celebrate the small wins.
Oh, yeah. You're ahead of the game. Yeah.
I remember I had, I also had marked the date on the calendar when I could finally lift something off the ground, something as trivial as that. But it was like, oh my God, I lifted the thing without having to, need any grabber or anything. But
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get lost in the, in the spiraling thoughts of, why am I here and why this happened to me and all of this. But to just see that you're going to recover, and there are these signs that show that you're actually getting better. Like you compare yourself all the day with the day you went to the ER, and then you're like, okay, I'm this much away from that day, and this much away from that day. So I think that's something that helped me. But I should say honestly that I still struggle with the thing of like, if this had not happened, I would have been doing, yeah. But I think it's a long way till probably a year or so, when you finally look back and you're like, okay, maybe it happened for the good. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe
Hmm.
you can tell
I
about
can
that. uh
100% say, yeah, yeah. I can 100% say, wow, if the herniated disc had never happened, then this never would have happened. So there is good that can come from it. And I wish I could go back to my pre-injury self and say, hey, just so you know, it's all going to work out.
Ah,
But
no, that's nice to hear. Because I also keep telling my physio all the time, but why did this happen to me? Like, I have been physically active. Like, okay, I'm not like a very sports person, but I was still, all of this. And then she's like, most of this is genetics. So you should really stop, blaming yourself for why things have happened. And then, there was a very nice, I don't know, analogy that she made. Like, if you kind of have diabetes in your hereditary, then even if you have maintained like a perfect lifestyle and so on, at some time if it's going to hit you, and the only thing you can do is to just see how you can manage it, like by controlling sugars and so on. So similarly here, you just have to stay with your exercises and do your strength training, and that's how you're just going to manage it. And there's so because sometimes we can be hard on ourselves as to uh, and I think the worst part is the guilt that comes along by taking help from people,
yeah,
which
definitely.
yeah, because I was kind of like this hyper independent person, and
Mhm.
managing everything
Yeah,
all
yeah.
yourself. And this one brought me face to face to like learn how to deal with accepting help. I'm like,
Help,
oh
yep.
no.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
So
terrible. We can be our own worst enemies sometimes.
I'm like, your friends and your family, like they want to be there, and so just
Exactly.
just let them be there. Yeah.
I remember when a friend showed up at my house and she was like, "I've come to clean your toilets." I was like, "Absolutely not." She's like,
Uh,
"I'm gonna clean them." You know?
yes, precisely.
Well, I'm so glad that you're doing so well. And how much longer do you have left in your PhD program?
No. So this one is like after PhD, like it's the postdoctoral research. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm here for another 1.5 years till next December. Yeah.
Okay.
So my contract ends then.
Okay.
I have a year
You
and a
do you
half
have
to
to
go.
defend a thesis?
Not this time. So you do it only the
Okay.
first time of your
So
PhD,
you've
which
done that already.
I have
Okay.
done that already. Yeah. Before
Okay.
moving to
So
Sweden, yeah, I had
so
just
I should
finished
have
that.
introduced you as Dr. Aditha,
No,
right?
that's okay.
Come on, woman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything else that you would like to add for our listeners?
Yeah, I think one of the things to just, I would just like to say is just keep up your hope. It's very hard, like, especially when you're in the worst state, it's really, really hard to do so. But things will fall back into place, like, quite literally in this case. But, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And I would probably an advice would be to, even if you're, recovering after surgery or without surgery, I think you have physiotherapy and the exercises are really, really important for your bodies, even if you're pain free after the surgery and so on. But it's still, I think, really important to stick to that, like treat it like your religion, give time for it every day, like at least some time if on a busy day. But even if things seem to be good, but I think we should. It's important for people who have had this injury once to just make sure that you don't reherniate, or you uh, just get more confidence with your own body, sticking to your physiotherapy exercises and just trusting your movements, but being more aware and being more careful, but also like, yeah, progressing slowly, and really, really keeping up with it is something I feel is very crucial. Did you have to also do physiotherapy after your surgery?
I did. So I did try physical therapy before
Mhm.
surgery, and it didn't help.
Okay.
And
Mm.
I also tried a cortisone injection, and that
Oh,
didn't help. Did you
okay.
try
I
one of
had
those?
one too. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think after the first month, when I was not able to sit again, so I
Yeah.
had been given a lot of tablets, like the like paracetamols and the
Sure.
muscle relaxants and naproxen, which really, really, I mean, I got into a lot of trouble with my gut issues because of the
Oh,
naproxen. So
yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really bad. So I went to the doctor for another opinion as to about the tablets and medications, and he was like, it's weird that you're still not able to sit. Maybe you let's try with a cortisone injection. So I
Mm-hmm.
did take one, and I think for me it did help. Like I don't know if it was a coincidence or what, but like 3 to 4 days later, I was able to sit for a bit longer, and that's
Right.
how I eventually got back to working from home.
Yeah.
So maybe in my case it helped.
I
Yeah.
think mine helped for about 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks, the pain came back, and the doctor said, "We can do another shot, or you could do surgery." And I was just like, "Surgery." I just I don't want to keep trying something that might not work.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That would have been really
Yeah.
bad then. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait until you're dancing again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It
Do
just
you
feels so
dance for
nice to
fun
hear
or
that.
professionally?
Not professionally, but then I kind of, back when I was in India and during my PhD, I kind of gave a few performances with one of my friends. So she was a professionally trained dancer, and I used to learn from her. And then, yeah, but it was almost a part of my routine. So I really, really miss it now.
Yeah. You'll get back to it. You will definitely get back to it. Adithi, it was so much of a big pleasure just having you on the show today. I love your personality and the fact that this hasn't stopped you from smiling and laughing, and you've got the right
Yeah.
mental attitude to conquer this. I really appreciate you reaching out to me
Thank
and
you. Thank
being
you.
wanting to share your
Yeah.
story.
No, I'm so glad you're doing this. Like, I think one of the other things also is to just look for positive stories, which is how
Yeah.
I found your podcast. So I was, you when you Google how long is the timeline for the recovery, it says 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm like, really? What is happening to me then?
You're right.
So you need stories from real people who have been through this, and
Exactly.
I remember I used to listen to your podcast like just while going to work and coming back, and it gave me so much of validation. And
Aw.
like, okay, there are so many people out there who have been there and now who are
Mhm.
like completely recovered. So I think it's a super nice initiative, and I'm so thankful that I found your podcast, and
Oh,
you're
thank
doing
you.
a great job. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to
Yes.
hear. That's my hope, is just to provide some hope for those of us that are in pain. You feel so alone in that moment and you feel stuck, but you're not. You're not.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you
Definitely.
again. And if you are somebody who is recovering from a serious back or neck injury and you would like to share your story, head over to my website, bedbackbeyond.com, and click share your story. I'd love to include your voice on the show. Adithi, thank you once again.
Thank you so much.